Hello again, everybody. Well, I hope everybody's there. I hope that I'm talking to some people. I'm sure I am. Anyway, it's good to be back and to be with you again. And the last video, which I've just called video number 4, I think maybe I need to put some names against these videos so that you can look back and pick out the ones you want to hear again. But this one is just going to be a bit of a continuation from the testimony one, which was number 3. No, this is number 5. Sorry, number 4 it was. So anyway, I'll try and put the names up. Well, the last one I did was about a testimony. So to get your testimony down to 3 minutes, because testimonies are so powerful. And I mentioned the woman at the well and how she went off to Sychar, her village, her city, and told everybody that she had met a man who told her everything. And that was her testimony. And many came to Jesus through her testimony. And then we've got the man in the graveyard who was basically demonized, full of demons, legions of demons. That means over to at least 2,000, I believe I'm right in saying. And he couldn't be kept down. His chains, he broke his chains, everything. But Jesus cast out all the demons and he was totally set free. And he was begging Jesus to let him come and travel with Jesus. But Jesus said, no, go and speak to your family, go back to your home, go back to the town. And he did. He did eventually. And he went back and he told, I believe he was an evangelist to something like 10 different cities in Decapolis. But anyway, I'll check that out, and if I've said that wrong, then forgive me. But he went back and he shared his testimony of what Jesus had done for him in this city, Decapolis. So that was amazing. And the last one I gave you was the one about the man who was blind from birth. And Jesus came along and he spat, he used his spittle, he rubbed it in the ground, in the soil, and then he rubbed the soil on the blind man's eyes and he said, go now and wash in the pool of Siloam. So the man went off, washed his eyes, washed all the mud off, and he could see. He was totally healed, from blind to seeing, 2020. And of course, nobody could understand. They were saying, how are you not blind anymore? How's that happen? And he said, well, this man, Jesus, came and did this with the mud in the eyes and everything. And they said, no, but how did it happen? And of course, there was nothing else to tell. It was his testimony. But his testimony was so, so powerful. And I love that story because the religious people, the Pharisees and Sadducees, eventually went to mum and dad. And this was a grown man who'd been blind. And they said, okay, how did he get healed? And mum and dad said, go and ask him. He's an adult. He's told you, but go back and ask him if you don't believe it. So testimonies are really, really powerful. And now there'll be some of you listening to this who are thinking, well, I've known Jesus forever. I can't remember a time when I haven't known him. But and I've had many people come to me and say, I haven't got a testimony. I've always had Jesus in my life as long as I remember. And I said, no, you've got the most powerful testimony. Because if the Lord God has kept you safe in this wicked world all your life because of your relationship with him, that is an amazing testimony. And not a lot of people have got that. In my experience, not a lot have had that kind of testimony. So you've got a really powerful testimony, and don't let me ever hear you or believe that you would ever say to anybody, well, I've got a testimony because I've known Jesus all my life. That is the biggest testimony of all time. The other thing that I want to say is that the longer that we walk with Jesus, the more testimonies we get about different things. Like I've got a testimony of how I met Jesus, and then I've got a testimony how I conquered fear through Jesus, about flying. Then I've got a testimony about the power of words. I've got so many testimonies over the years, they build up. So God will often put people across your path who've had the same problem or have the same problem, and you can testify according to what God has done in your life regarding that particular problem. Okay, the other thing I want to say is when you're giving your testimony, you don't use words like sanctification, righteousness, the blood of the Lamb, Because you've got to remember, people today, there is at least 2 generations, I believe, in the world who a lot of them know nothing about Jesus. They don't know who he is. They've heard his name. They've heard it as a swear word, an abusive, a swear word, yeah, and they know nothing about who he really is. So to come out with all this religious jargon, or I've been saved, you think, what? Saved from what? What are we talking about? Saved? You've got to be so careful. We can get so churchy, we forget that the world outside the church doors doesn't understand. They really do not understand. They don't know the Bible. Many of you, I guess, who are watching will know the Bible. Maybe you've been brought up with it, or you've heard it, or you've sat in church for years but never given your lives to Jesus, or goodness knows. But all I know is there'll be some of you watching. I firmly believe there'll be at least 1 or 2 people here who've never even looked at a Bible. Now, this book is made up of 66 books, and there's the beginning of the Bible called the Old Testament, and then we go to the New Testament, which is the last part of the Bible. And the Old Testament is when Jesus was not walking this earth. So see, New Testament, and there's actually about 400 years between this front bit, this bit, and this bit, which is the Old Testament, about 400 years. But in the New Testament, the bit at the back, we've got the 4 Gospels: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and they're the ones written by the disciples, who were like, these 4 were Jesus's friends. And so, I think I covered this in the last one, didn't I? Yeah. So if you haven't read a Bible, I would start in the Gospels: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And I think I said before, my personal favourite to start with would be Mark. Full on, all about what Jesus did, and it's exciting, and yeah, it'll keep you captivated. Okay, I'm going to try now and give you my testimony in 3 minutes. I'm looking at my watch to see if I can do it in 3 minutes. I should be able to. I've done it often enough. Okay, here we go. So this is my testimony to give you an idea of how it's in 3 parts. I met Jesus when I was a child. I asked him into my heart as a young child, and then when I got into the teenage years, I left Jesus because I was more interested in going out with my friends and getting up to what was going on in those days. I spent many years in the world doing things which shouldn't be done, and I then was married. By this time I'd 4 children, and I just realized that there was something missing, and really I should be teaching them something about a religion. I had a quick look into other religions, Islam, and what was the other one, the Indian one. Anyway, I had a quick look at these religions, realized I knew nothing about them, so I was wasting my time, and really I should just go to the Christian church and bring them up in the Christian church. So that's what I did, but I never went into church. I stayed in Sunday school, and I stayed in the creche. There was no way I would go into church, because having had an encounter with Jesus as a child, I knew deep down that he was real, and that one day I would come back to him, but I didn't want it just now. I didn't want it just now. I was one of those people who was thinking, well, when I'm near my deathbed or whatever, then I'll come to Jesus. Anyway, one day there was an evangelist, somebody who, like myself, who shares Jesus, tells his story, shares the gospel, and tries to introduce people, hopefully introduces people to Jesus by helping them pray the prayer. And I was more or less forced, arm up my back, to go into church this Sunday morning. So I did, and I sat at the back, and I had my arms crossed, and I thought, I'm not going to listen with my head down. And I have no idea what he talked about, because I really wasn't listening. I didn't want to be there, and I made it quite clear I didn't want to be there. But what I did hear towards the end was him say, there is someone here today who has known Jesus in the past, and they've been away from him for many, many years, but today's the day they need to come back. And that was me. My heart was going like that. How did he know? How did he know? And so I gave my heart to Jesus, and I was trying to stick to my testimony and not go off and explain things. But anyway, so after that, my life changed radically. God put such a hunger in my heart to get to know him better, and my life was changed. I had a drink problem, binge drinking, and that was just cut off like that. It was incredible. He doesn't do that for everybody, but he does different ways. He knows the best way to help each and every one of his children individually. We're unique to him. We're precious. We're his children, and he's the Father, so he knows us inside out. Anyway, that's my testimony, and I think that was more like 4 minutes. But where I found it hard not to digress and go off track was speaking, sort of explaining, because when that minister in the church said there's someone here who has known Jesus, needs to come back, that was what we call today, and it's written in the Bible, in the second half, the New Testament, a word of knowledge. It's God speaks to the person and tells them something, or they just speak it out, something about somebody in the vicinity or that they're talking to. We'll maybe go on further about that as we go more into tools of evangelism, which is coming up before too long. Anyway, it was a word of knowledge this man had. Incredible, very powerful words of knowledge, particularly when you're evangelizing. They just hit the mark. And time's gone on, and I've gone on longer than I meant to. So, one quick other thing before I finish this one is that when you're giving your testimony, no churchy words, and keep it short and sharp, like I tried to do just then. So practice it. Get a friend, get a mate, get a family person, wherever, somebody in church, if you're in church, and say, would you listen to me? I want to give you my testimony, but I need to do it short and sharp, 3 minutes, if not 2 minutes. And one last thing I mentioned before was Paul, this wonderful man of God in the New Testament, who gave his testimony to King Agrippa in Acts chapter 26. And you'll find, go away and have a read of it before you watch the next video. You'll find it split up perfectly into before he met Jesus, what he got up to. I'll not tell you because it's exciting reading if you haven't read it before. What he did before he met Jesus, his Damascus Road experience, it's called, when he had an encounter with Jesus. Fantastic. And then his life afterwards. So Acts 26. Anyway, it's been so good to see you. I'll leave it there for now, but hopefully see you for video number 6 before too long. Okay, God bless you all. Thank you.